The one is where you think you want to do it, but you really don't intend to, versus the one where you actually do intend to, and you will. Because you do. People who intend to change. People who don't intend to don't change. And it's just that simple. Why? It's not because of karma. It's not because of past traumas. In the end, it's because the thing is, we all have to be ready now, isn't it? That's from the perspective of evolution and evolutionary crisis, so to speak. Time's up. I mean, once you get it and you really get it, that's it. In other words, from a certain point of view, and some people I know find this kind of hard, a time does come, ladies and gentlemen, in adult life when kind of time's up. If you don't reach that point in your own adult development where time is up, then you're just playing a game. Because there has to be some, why don't you decide when that moment is? Don't let me decide for you. But all of you should decide, when does the moment come in your adult life, when time is up? At which point do you have to make the transition we spoke about day before yesterday from adolescent to adult human being? So whenever that point comes, and you decide, right? You decide when that point comes, but that point does have to come, if you're interested in the evolution of consciousness, when we take that leap from adolescent to mature human. But the problem for so many of us, in this postmodern psychologically oriented, alienated self, is that point never comes. We don't even think about it coming, but just think about it today. When does the point come when you have to just stop and grow up? You say, well, I'm not ready yet. Well, when are you going to be ready? I mean, what is it that makes somebody ready, actually? What is it? Things never work out the way you want them to in life. Things never work out the way you want them to, the way you imagine them to be. Life is very unpredictable. Sometimes awful things happen which you didn't expect, and other times wonderful, extraordinary, marvelous things happen that we didn't expect also. Things can go terribly wrong quite often. Once in a while, things can go expectedly, better than we could have ever possibly imagined. Believe me, if you are not willing to take responsibility for your own karma in the way that I'm speaking about, in a really way that's unconditional, you're not going to be ready for when something really great happens. And most people I meet, they're not ready for the kind of glory that I'm talking about because they're not willing to take responsibility for their own karma. You have to be willing to take responsibility for yourself in order to make this world a truly extraordinary place. So then the facing everything and avoiding nothing it's the practice of awareness. So what facing everything and avoiding nothing means is, because you want, which is the first tenet, because you want to evolve, because you want to become an enlightened person, because you want to evolve morally, ethically, philosophically, spiritual, because you want to become an enlightened person, you want to evolve beyond ego. That is your intention. It is your passion. You're very clear about it. You've come to an absolute decision. Right? Everything depends upon the first tenet of the teaching. Remember, I always say that. Everything depends upon the first tenet because of the intention that you've come to, because of the intention that you've cultivated, you begin to pay attention to your own experience. And the context of paying attention is the desire to evolve beyond ego, the desire to evolve morally, ethically, philosophically, and spiritually. So that's the context in which you're paying attention to your own experience. So you're watching what is happening internally in relationship to your own mind and your own emotions. Simultaneously, you're watching what's happening as you respond to external stimuli, to other people, to life. You're constantly paying attention to your internal responses, to the choices that are being made, consciously and unconsciously. You're constantly paying attention to what's happening. You're constantly paying attention to the way you respond to life, to other people, to unexpected circumstances, to pleasure, pain, joy, and fear. You're always paying attention, seeing what's happening. So you're always monitoring what's happening. And the reason you're doing it is because you're actually interested, and this is the key. Yeah. Okay. So this is why the facing everything and avoiding nothing will only be able to be practiced by an individual who's really gone very deeply into the first tenet of the teaching. The cultivation of the intention to evolve beyond ego, to evolve morally, ethically, philosophically, and spiritually, has to be cultivated in a very profound way. Because when it is, you start exercising the muscle of volitionality, and when you begin to exercise the muscle of volitionality, based upon the profound, having cultivated the profound intention to be free, then you can begin to use your own gift of awareness for your own salvation, for your own evolution beyond ego, for your own higher moral development. See my point? Otherwise, it ain't going to work. In other words, you'll get the theory, and because you're intellectually very sophisticated, you'll get the theory, say it's a good theory, but it won't work for you. The point is, if the locus of your attention, if the goal of your attention is evolution beyond ego, see, that opens everything up there, because you're not trying to defend anything. So you're automatically in an undefended, your orientation to your experience and to awareness itself is undefended. At the same time, there's a very specific goal that you have your attention on. See? And also, because it's developmental, because it's an evolutionary context, your goal is always on what's possible now, and what's possible now, and because there's always more possible. So there's this kind of hopefully ever increasing dimension of flexibility to the reach of your own attention in relationship to what you're trying to accomplish. So it's not like you're trying to defend, where what's already happened, rigid. People they're fixed, rigid, closed. It's not. If you're really evolutionarily enlightened, then there's a certain natural flexibility to your relationship to awareness, to the way your awareness is kind of embracing your own inner and outer experience, because you're always reaching, because it's a developmental context. See my point? So there's inherent flexibility there, which is very different than the way most of us operate, which is there's rigidity, you see, in the way that we think. There's a very conditioned rigidity in terms of the way our attention works. Okay, so also when you say facing everything and avoiding nothing, if you're facing everything and avoiding nothing, you are going to start noticing things on the both extremes of the spectrum of possibility. So on one extreme, certain potentials are going to start to emerge in your awareness that you never imagined were possible. I'm talking about the possibility of actually succeeding. Wow. The possibility of actually succeeding. You're going to have glimpses of a kind of glory and a kind of goodness and a kind of positivity that you never imagined in your life was actually possible. But it'll suddenly dawn on you that it really is possible, right? You're going to start glimpsing kind of potentials for yourself, for other people, for humanity as a whole, for life itself, for consciousness itself, that was way outside and beyond the field of your own awareness before. It just wasn't in the realm of possibility. Never entered my mind. You ever heard that song? It's a beautiful song. Never entered my mind. So it never entered your mind because you were so the spectrum of the possibilities that you were actually considering were so narrow. And for most people, it's just awful that the spectrum of potential of what we're actually seriously considering is so narrow that of course we don't develop and evolve in any kind of spectacular, extraordinary, and significant way, because it was something that we're never even considering, really. Okay, so when you begin to face everything and avoid nothing, when you drop your ego